Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Director Rutledge, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, Chairman. How about you?
Doing fine. I see that we have Director Johnson and company.
Yes.
All right. Morning, sir. Very good. Good. I think it's time do we have the commissioners on board this morning?
So I see Commissioner Washington. I don't see Commissioner Williams on.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I've had contact with Commissioner Williams. She's working through some technical difficulty. If we could please have 2 or 3 minutes, we should have it resolved.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much.
These people here, man, they did it the right way, so those other folks got to follow suit, man. It's like everything else, you know, if we don't start holding people's feet to the fire as much as we can to comply with and stuff, we'll be scrambling, like Tanner mentioned. When it comes to
good morning, Director Johnson. You're live, and we have your audio live and hot there as we're waiting on the commissioner. Just want to let you know that you're live, sir. Your mic is open and on.
I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Washington.
I was muted. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Very good. So we have both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams here. Chief K, Director Rutledge, I think it's time to call our meeting to order, and we'll get started. So we'll have the virtual housekeeping rules given, followed by the invocation.
Great.
This meeting is being streamed live on Facebook and being recorded. Due to audio sensitivity, please refrain from sidebar conversations or personal comments for anyone in attendance. There is a 15-second delay between the live meeting and the Facebook stream. All virtual participants' microphones will be automatically muted by the meeting facilitator. For those in attendance here in the auditorium, please do not stream Zoom or Facebook due to negative impacts on the audio. Comments submitted via Facebook will become an official part of the record. Please limit the comments to the case being heard. If you are joining us in person, each speaker must sign their name to the appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card and submit it to county staff to register your intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. If you are joining us virtually, you should have registered your intent to speak with staff prior to the start of this meeting. Each item
Okay. Director Johnson, are there any additional comments you'd like to make regarding the virtual housekeeping as relate to this meeting this morning before we move forward?
Mr. Chairman, only that we do have availability in the auditorium for individuals who don't have computer access that would like to speak or make comments. So the auditorium is open for those who do not have computer access.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. All right. Chief Cabe, if you would be so kind and lead us in the invocation, we greatly appreciate it.
Bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today and ask for your guidance over our elected officials and also over the members of our staff that are presenting information here today. Please be with them as we present information on items that are taking place in our community and guide us in making the best, most appropriate, ethical, and lawful decisions as it relates to our service to our community. We ask this in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief Cabe. Commissioners, we will move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance at this time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, very good, very good. At this time, we'll have the commissioners will have the approval of the agenda.
So I move to approve the agenda.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Commissioner Washington, I think you're muted again, Commissioner Washington. Can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Motion.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion's been properly motioned and carried. Next item is the approval of the minutes, and there are none. So we'll move right on to the rules of procedures for the public hearing.
Each speaker must fill out a public comment card to register your intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon motion of the board that the order is changed. A member of the county planning staff will present each item to the board and will provide recommendations made by both the planning staff and the Conyers-Rockdale Planning Commission for each item of business. All board members are required to have their video and microphone on throughout the entirety of the meeting. If joining the meeting virtually, use your full name when you log in. All board members must state their names to identify themselves prior to speaking. The zoning applicant or the agent will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. If you are a presenter, please be prepared to share your screen during your presentation and ensure that your documents are set to full screen or in presentation mode. If you have pre-registered for public comment, the secretary will call your name when it is your turn to speak, and the meeting facilitator will unmute your microphone, and you will need to start your video and unmute your microphone. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. As a reminder, speakers are to address the board, not the applicant or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers shall be permitted. After all public comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold general discussion. However, no decisions will be rendered at this hearing. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. This meeting is being
All right. Okay, Director Johnson, are there any additional housekeeping rules you'd like to add to before we start here?
No, sir. We're ready to move forward.
Okay, all right, commissioners, there's no unfinished business at this time. We will move right away and start with the first item on the new business, and that is Director Rutledge, the Old Salem Road item there, item number A.
Okay. Good morning. First case, future land use case number 2021-02 and rezoning case 2021-030 Old Salem Road. Applicant is Alliance LLC. This property is approximately 13.2 acres, again, on Old Salem Road. The request twofold. One is to amend the future land use map category from commercial to high density residential. Second is to rezone from general commercial to residential multifamily. Purpose is to develop a 105 unit townhome. Here we have an area map, a site map, if you will, showing that the green is our administration building. The actual red X is indicating the property that we are discussing, and just showing the vicinity, okay? The next, we have the future land use map. Okay, again, X is indicating the site under discussion, Old Salem Road. As you see, it's currently commercial. It's surrounded by a mix of commercial as well as multiple densities of residential. Next, we have the zoning map. Okay, the zoning again is showing that the area is currently C2 commercial district, general commercial district, and it is surrounded again by a mixture of high density and mixed density residential. All right, this is a site map, site plan rather, if you will, submitted by the applicant, showing Old Salem Road. It's showing Salem Road to the, I guess, to the southwest, Salem Gate Drive to the north of the property. This is a preliminary layout. As you see, if you notice, most of the townhomes are shifted to the southeastern of the, this is a unique shaped parcel, number one. If you look at to the top north corner of it, there is an existing stream. There's existing stream, water. And so obviously there are some topographic impediments to the particular property. Hence the need from staff's perspective that although it is zoned currently commercial, that based on the topographic constraints, particularly this environmental feature, that the best use for this would probably be some sort of residential, and that's why we actually supported the proposal for townhomes. This is an example that the petitioner submitted, an elevation to show us the type of front facade that this property development could have. And this is something to be consistent with some of the surrounding areas. Some of the conditions of the of this particular opportunity is zoning plan was prepared by Alliance Engineering. This zoning plan shall become the guiding layout and design
The actual location of some of the areas, attention streets and sidewalks, will actually be refined as we move further down the process. The site shall be restricted to townhome development, no more than 105 units, 2-car garages, carriage style. And some of these other items here are just pretty consistent with what we have been asking our past townhome development projects to adhere to in terms of exterior features, the covenants in terms of the number of homes that could be rented out. And the final statement is talking about the plan that really will allow individuals that purchase a townhome to realize that they are in an area close to non-residential with commercial and or industrial. And so there are noises and other issues that are consistent with non-residential uses. Additional, the 5-foot wide sidewalks along Old Salem. The internal sidewalks will be 5 feet wide on all internal. A 10-foot wide landscape strip on Old Salem. Internal streets, 24 feet wide from face of curb and to face of curb, and should be maintained by the HOA. Any private alleys, because we're looking at some rear loaded townhomes, private alleys should be a minimum of 18 feet wide. Driveways shall be a minimum of 18 feet from the garage and the back of the sidewalk. This will help to keep anybody parking in the driveway from actually blocking sidewalks. And again, grasses should be sodded, utilities underground, so on and so forth. Again, these are some pretty consistent standards that the county has asked for in most of our other townhome developments. So the positives of how this proposed rezoning will impact the community. Obviously, we're talking about a housing shortage that's not only experienced by Rockdale, but nationwide, statewide, and adding some diversity of housing that is lacking here in the county. It will also provide a buffer between the multifamily and commercial uses north and east of the site, as well as a single family residential to the south of the site. The ecological features on the property, I mentioned earlier, there is an existing stream, a creek rather, on the property. And obviously there's some other topographic issues that probably will not allow this to be, I guess, highest and best use to be utilized as a commercial site, hence the need for the rezoning. And the site design will serve as traffic calming. There has been some speeding along Old Salem Road. By this particular development actually coming to fruition, it could help be a traffic calming measure. And finally, the developer has agreed to enhance bike and ped facilities along Old Salem Road. Changing the future land use category from commercial and the zoning to general commercial, again, will enhance adding new housing stock to the county, adding a housing stock that currently is pretty non-existent. It will add a buffer again between the commercial and the residential districts and the surrounding areas. Design features will discourage speeding on the Old Salem, the main arterial, and obviously preserving the ecological features. Again, and one other thing I'd like to make notice is that our staff has reached out to the senior citizens and residents around the area. They are in support of the future land use amendment for this particular site. I want to make note of that. Therefore, staff recommends approval for amending the future land use map, as well as the rezoning from general commercial to RM for this particular site. But now, are there any questions in this regard, Mr. Chair?
All right, thank you, Director Johnson. I will start with Commissioner Washington, and then I'll go to Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Washington.
Good morning. My first question is, number one, what is the price point, price point of these units?
Could you repeat that, please?
She wants to know
What
what's
is
the price point.
Projected price point?
The price points are approximately $240 to $250 per the applicant. And Commissioner Washington, just so you know that when it comes time for the that,
I'm sorry, I missed
be
that.
available for some comments and questions later.
Sorry, I missed that. It's probably on my end when you answered.
So I said that the price points are approximately $240,000 to $250,000. And if you need some more detailed information, the applicant will be available for comments during the hearing portion.
Do they have have they provided us with any renderings of the interior? I know
Could you repeat that, please?
concern with the exterior, but I know, have they provided us with any renderings of what the interior may look?
No, I don't think we have anything in terms of the interior of the actual proposed units. But that's something, again, we can ask the applicant during the Q&A for the hearing.
Okay, and my final question is, did the planning commission give a reason for their denial?
Well, yes, it's and as you know, you received a letter. Their concern is that obviously this is currently a commercially zoned site, and the fact of the matter that staff recommended the rezoning, even though it's a commercial zone site, it's surrounded by existing commercial as other residential. The site, based on the ecological and topographic issues, on staff's opinion, is not suitable for, it's only a 13-acre site. Just because it's 13 acres, that ecological impediment doesn't allow the entire 13 acres to be used. Because of that and other issues, we figured that it would be best utilized for a mixed density residential, such as a town development. And so I think some of the residents, well, actually, and I think the PC, that their major concern was the changing of the land use category, future land use, as well as the rezoning. It's a good project, but again, you received the letter as well as some of the others, and that's just, I think it's just kind of to highlight some of their concerns regarding what's considered an influx of townhome developments. But we've only had, I think, 2 or 3, to my knowledge, in the county.
Right, and so I saw the light bulb, I guess, highlight did you know? And it said only 7% of the requests in, I think, 2017 were from townhome to 16.
Right.
Do we have the data for 18, 19, 20?
No, we don't. That's something we're trying to grasp. At the time of the actual presentation, that's 2017 data was readily available, but that's the 2018 and 19 and some data we can definitely try to obtain.
I don't remember a lot.
I beg your pardon?
I don't remember hardly any during my tenure, but I could be wrong. Okay, those are all of my questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Washington. Commissioner Williams?
So I think that like Commissioner Washington, I would really like to see the data for the last 3 years, 18, 19, 20, and to this point in 21.
Yes,
There is definitely an increase in requests for multifamily housing that we have not seen before in Rockdale County. I know that there has been a not enough multifamily kinds of developments, but I think my biggest concern is not necessarily the number of those, but what are we doing with our land use? And I read the email from the Planning Commission and appreciated their input. I think that moving forward, because we've never been faced with this before in such big numbers, I think that we need to do some research, gather some research that's already been done on these changes that we're talking about in rezoning, classifying the land use map, and developing in multifamily. I know that multifamily is the trend. And if you go all over the metro area, that's exactly what you see being built, is townhomes and multifamily residential. And but I'm wondering if there's some research about what is a good mix of single family, multifamily, townhomes in a community. I'm wondering if ARC has done some research on this and might be able to shed some light for us, and help us to understand what is going to make the best mix for Rockdale County. So I don't really have any questions. I think Commissioner Washington covered all those questions. Thank you.
If I may, Commissioner Williams, there's a couple things that a planning staff we're going to look at here, and not even before the request or the letter regarding a moratorium. It's concern about future land use, existing land use, and making sure we're consistent with the future land use plan. It's one thing for a petitioner to want to intensify residentially zoned area. If it's zoned AR or R1, and for whatever reasons, the petitioner wants to intensify that to something more dense like RM, that's one thing. That's something we can have a dialogue about, making sure there's adequate infrastructure, it's along a major arterial thoroughfare, if it's close to the city of Conyers, but they have similar RM, that's one thing. The issue that we are faced with is when it's industrial, if it's
Right.
Commercial, if it's something that is non-residentially zoned, and then there's a request to rezone it. That's where I think we need to maybe draw the line, take a step back, making sure that we are consistent. As we know, we are one of the smallest counties in the region. We don't have a lot of open green space here. And so some of these requests, again, it's only been 3, and so obviously there will be one voted on in the next voting session. So when I saw the moratorium letter and I'm hearing some of the comments, 3, we have no townhomes, and you have 3 requests. It's not like we're townhome central, but I do understand the need to protect and preserve, sustainability of the land in the county. So what we're going to do as staff is on the front end, when residents applicants want to apply, is to let them know if this is inconsistent with future land use, whether it's industrial or commercial, that it's highly unlikely that we could support this endeavor. But if it's something that's already zoned residential, maybe AR, maybe R1, and they may be looking at to intensify it with an more intense residential type, that's something we can discuss. Again, looking at infrastructure, schools, and again, the vicinity to the city of Conyers. And so there are some things we will do internally here. Again, 3 months, 6 months, and 14 months here. And so we have a relatively new staff, but we do need to take a step back, particularly when there's something going from a non-residential use to a residential use. That's something that we need to take a closer look at as well. And so that will be our, staff's response to, your question, as well as Commissioner Washington's comments and the overall issue of the moratorium.
Thank you, Director Johnson. I certainly understand what Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams are speaking to, because we've had a pretty robust inquiry from members of the community on both sides of the issues, I might say. So to get the feedback from you and your staff, and knowing that you are taking all of those factors into consideration, doing continued research. And the thing that I really appreciated hearing what you just said was you're taking it on a case by case, development by development scenario, and seeing what fits, what works, and you're matching up what's residential versus what's industrial and commercial, and making sure it's a right fit for Rockdale County. I really appreciated hearing that piece, because like both of the commissioners, I too have received emails, text messages, phone calls saying, all right, what are we doing? And she's right. we've never had this amount of influx in Rockdale County. So although you and your staff may be relatively new to Rockdale, this experience is new to us, and we've been here for a while. So we're all experiencing it at the same time. One of the things that Commissioner Washington pointed out last week, and I really appreciate it, is that we receive so many inquiries about economic development and retail outlets and restaurants and bistros and all of those things. And she pointed out part of the feasibility study for these retail and restaurant opportunities, they look at rooftops. They're looking at rooftops, median household income, and at the price point that we are now getting these townhouses, 250, 275 and above, that will attract a certain price point and a tax-based citizen into our community. Those things are factored in when the feasibility study, because we got to have rooftops. Krispy Kreme is just not going to show up in Rockdale County. They're going to do a feasibility study. They're going to make sure that we have the wherewithal and the financial capacity to support them setting up shop here. So I do appreciate that. I would ask, because this is somewhat of a sensitive issue, that as we continue to move forward, Director Johnson, and dealing with these development opportunities on a case-by-case basis, that you would remind myself and the board of the due diligence, of the background, of the research that you've done, case-by-case, development opportunity by development opportunity. Commissioner Washington, you wanted to add something there?
Oh, no, I was agreeing with what you were saying about the economic development and the rooftops and the feasibility studies that are done. An area, like you said, if Krispy Kreme thought right now that we could sustain a Krispy Kreme in Rockdale County, guess what? We'd have a Krispy Kreme in Rockdale County, because they've done the research. They know that they would want to put a facility where they think that they can make money. And let's be real about the situation. Businesses come where they think that they can be profitable. And so right now we have to work to become the place that is showing that they can, so that we can have the kind of entities that everybody is saying that they want.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. There has to be a balance, and that's what I'm hearing from Director Johnson and his staff this morning. They are definitely taking into consideration the balance as we move forward. Commissioner Williams, anything else on this piece before we move forward?
No.
Okay. All right, Director Johnson, any summary on this one before we move to the next?
One quick thing I'd like to mention. I know the term economic development has been tossed around a lot, particularly when there's a lot of vacant land that's been set vacant for a while, has not moved. To me, that's one of the things we discussed with our staff, is that taking a more proactive economic development focus and promoting the land and pushing the land and making sure property is priced accurately. And so properties just don't sit vacant for a reason. If it's close to infrastructure, the interchanges, schools, good neighborhoods, there's something else to consider. And so, the quick answer is typically, let's rezone it, let's whatever, but let's look at making sure that it's marketed and promoted accurately. And so people know that we have this industrial space, this commercial space, or this office space here. And so I don't want us to be so quick to just give up and flip properties that could be a good for our tax base. And so that's something we want to take here as well, a more active economic development role. And that's obviously a discussion for another time, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Director Johnson. You're spot on with everything that you're saying. And we do appreciate knowing that you and your staff are hearing what we're hearing and taking those things into consideration. I think it's time to move forward now, Director Rutledge, with the next item.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to interrupt. My name is Mark Pay. I am part of the adjacent housing area at Carillon.
Yes, sir.
And I was told I would have 3 minutes on this subject.
Yes, sir. So we were about to call in all of those speakers at.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
I thought we were moving on to the next subject.
No. We appreciate your eagerness. Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, we're here now, so give us your name again and perhaps your concern and your interest regarding this.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm really sorry to interrupt. I know you guys are busy. And please forgive me if my dogs are loud. This working from home is such a challenge. We're used
to dogs. We got a commissioner that has a dog that shows up from time to time.
Okay. My name is Mark Pay. I was a past vice president of the Housing Association of the adjacent property, the Carillon housing area. I think you can see it when I'm looking on this map. It's the Brand Lee Drive. It looks like from what I'm looking at, looks like
sir, without due respect, sir, that's the next project. This is Old Salem. You're speaking about the Huntington project, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that will be heard next.
Okay, because the email they sent me was okay. I got it. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sir. Yeah, just
never mind. Sorry about that.
That's the next item, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. And sir, if you would just hang tight, we appreciate your eagerness. We will get right to you just in a moment here. Thank you. All right. So on the matter that's at hand, the one that's before us, what is our next point of business there? Director?
Next point of business, we have two actions, one for the denial, one for the approval. 20 minutes each for the opposition and the support for the Old Salem project. So now the general public or whoever that wants to make comments, it's time for those individuals. Okay. And we have the applicant and two property owners that are speaking in support. I think they're on the line now. So.
Okay, and are they there in the auditorium?
No, let's see. I think they're lined on. Let's see. We have Mr. Boswell. We have Mr. Mitch Peavy. So yeah, Mitch Peavy and Jamie Boswell.
Ms. Peavy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mitch. How you doing?
All right. You want me to get going?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Again, good morning, commissioners. My name is Mitch Peavy. My office address is 6095 Atlanta Highway in Flowery Branch, and I'm with Alliance Engineering. Basically, my client came to me last August on this property, and I do things a little bit different. I am a previous city manager at the city of Beaufort, and then I've been doing zoning work for 35 years. But I took a ride, went down and rode the area and looked at it closely, trying to determine, what is a good use for this property. La Vista Associates had the property listed for approximately 15 years. And as Terrence was saying about marketing the property, they marketed it for commercial uses. During that 15 years, they had 0 proposals to develop this property as a commercial use. The area and this property being 13.2 acres, as you've seen, is bisected by a creek. It's not a flat piece of property. It is a challenging piece of property that is in a good location. But as you come down Old Salem, you don't get the feel that this is a prime commercial location. You get the feel that you're getting into a more residential area. As you go up Salem Gate back to the interstate, the frontage road there, you've got more commercial there. You've got the Salem Gateway property that has been taken down. That was a very large commercial corner now in the city of Conyers, and I understand it's being reworked now to come back as some type of mixed use. But this, this property abuts that, or abuts commercial, it abuts office, it abuts apartments. And then on the other side of Old Salem, you've got single family. It just doesn't have a feel for commercial, and pretty much on a good day, this would be a secondary site. And fortunately for the Rockdale County, that it has not been developed, because I'm certain it would be vacant at this point in time, and you'd be trying to figure out some way to keep the people from parking there and doing things overnight that they shouldn't be doing in a vacant commercial parking lot. But this is with Amazon today and COVID, it has double dipped on this property to ensure that it is not going to be developed as a commercial use. The Planning Commission had conversations about the size of Rockdale County and about the fact that there is a limited space for commercial. But no matter how hard you wish it, sometimes you can't force the developers to go and build something that's not going to be successful. And this property is not going to be successful as a commercial use. Even if you get it into some type of industrial use, as the Planning Commission talked about, or high tech or something, I don't see that happening, because I don't think you want to introduce tractor trailer traffic into this area due to the 50s and 60 commercial single family lots across the street from this. I don't think having the tractor trailers and the beeping would work. And again, I don't think you could grade this property long enough to get it flat enough to do some type of industrial on it. But again, we have, when we first submitted this, I contacted Terrence before I ever did anything. And he said, before I even submit, I need to reach out and make contact with our neighbors. We sent out about 30 letters to the surrounding neighborhood. And that layout we had at that time, we had the townhomes backing up to Old Salem Road. Talked to probably 15, 18 people, called me back from the letter we sent out. They did not like our folks being able to sit on their back patio and look at the front of their houses, and kind of made sense to us. So what we did when we submitted, then we had turned the ends or the sides of the units adjacent to Old Salem Road, and that's the application that we submitted. Then as we're talking with Terrace, and then Tanner got involved as well too, came back saying that they would prefer us to look at doing some type of more of a mixed use to bring in the rear entry product and have that coming along Old Salem Road so that the fronts of the units are facing, so that we've got fronts matching fronts to the houses across the street. Well, my only concern there was 99 times out of 100, you're going to have a 3-story rear entry product. And that to me did not make sense or flow in the area. And so Rockland Homes is the builder group that wants to do the townhomes, and they are masters at building townhomes. And Mike Hart is their architect, and he is probably one of the best architects I have ever worked with on residential products. And so they went to the drawing board, and that's why last month we asked for it to be tabled. But they have come up with a 2-story rear entry product that you were shown earlier. And that to me then made sense. So then we got that back to staff and worked with staff, and staff's come up with a set of conditions that we don't have any concerns or questions about. We agree with totally. But again, we think that the mixture we're talking about, the price point, now the sign may go up and say, $229, $999, and just to get a hook out there, but that would be a base model. And then the folks will come in and we'll show them upgraded countertops and upgraded flooring and upgraded different things. And it only costs you, $10 more a month to add this. So you get the little woman in there and you show her all these bells and whistles, and then they start upgrading. And as I said, we fully believe that we're going to be in the mid-2s to a little bit higher than that, probably up to 275. And if we can, we'll sell them for $300,000. We're not biased and not trying to make as much money and to sell them for as high a price as we can get. But that's how it will evolve. And we think it's going to be a hot location and a good spot. The buyer for this is typically somebody who has just gotten married or just gotten out of college and got their first job. They don't want to have to worry about maintaining a home. They don't like being in an apartment. They're smart enough that they want to get them some equity going. And what we do with this as well is the maintenance of all of the exterior property, the maintenance of the exterior of the units, the roofs, everything, the exterior paint is all done by the HOA. So these folks, they come home from work on the weekends. They don't have to worry about getting out and cutting grass or maintaining their units or taking care of anything on the outside. it's just a lock and go. Then they can, you know, if they've got a small child or something, they can take them to the park, they spend the weekend with them, or if it's newlyweds and they're doing things, you know, that they want to do to go out and play and not have to worry about taking care of a large yard. Again, the neighbors across the street, they've listened to me. The staff has reached out to them as well and have verified that we've had a lot of conversations with these folks. And again, they have written letters of support. And I think it's the right time, the right place. And I know Commissioner Washington, you were asking about the interiors. I did not have any of that. It hadn't come up as a question, so I don't have that available. But if you go to rocklandhomes.com, you can pull that up on Google. It's ROCKLYN. They'll have plenty of information on there. They are the, in my opinions, the kings of the townhome market in Metro Atlanta. I've got another one of my clients that I worked with over the years, and Rockland came in and started building townhomes beside his, and he said, I don't know what they're doing. He said, but I'm shutting mine down until they're sold out and gone because I can't sell anything with them next to me. They have such a, again, I think it's due to Mike Hart, their architect, is such a good guy. But with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And
will Commissioner Washington, any questions for Mr. Mark at this point?
No, I don't have any questions. I've actually done a lot of research on Rockland Homes, as a matter of fact, just comparing, just doing research on the type that people have with townhomes, and until you start into that world and doing the research and looking at how great these amenities are in these townhomes, you really don't realize to the community. They have townhomes with the heated floors and the you know, and they're all energy efficient. They have the latest and greatest of technology. They have townhomes with pools on the rooftop. It's the things that they're doing with these townhomes are amazing. So I think that sometimes it helps to educate what kind of living conditions we're actually bringing to the community. So that's why I asked for the interior. I know, I just wanted to show everybody.
All right. Commissioner Williams?
I think because of our previous conversation, I think there's, you know, things to talk about. I appreciate Commissioner Washington's input on on this particular builder and innovation. And I'm always a fan of creativity and innovation and offering something new. I think one of the things that we need to remember is that if our market is professionals, then you know, then we want to make sure that we are marketing to professionals, and that many of those professionals are women, and they make educated financial decisions. And so I think we need to make sure that we are approaching this in a intelligent way as we think about it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So Director Johnson, your next speaker.
Mr. Chairman, we have I want to say Mr. Boswell is a broker for the property owner. Mr. Boswell, are you still on? Jamie Boswell, yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Mr. Boswell, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, you have 8 minutes left, just on the other side, just to let you know, sir.
Well, I won't take up 8 minutes, I can assure you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jamie Boswell. My company is Boswell, it's located in Athens, Georgia. And we represent Jack Davis, the owner of the property on Old Salem and Salem Gate Drive that is under consideration for residential townhouse development. The location is ideal for this project as it would offer quality housing for middle-income families that is much needed and would not negatively impact neighboring properties. The location is considered a destination location, which offers opportunities for local businesses and restaurants, as well as not negatively impacting adjacent homes and neighborhoods and overcrowding streets. The destination location definition for this area is supported by current businesses in the immediate vicinity. For example, insurance agencies, local pubs and restaurants, Rockdale County Government Office, a multi-tenant retail building, coin laundry, and medical office. If this site were to be developed for a major retailer, it would have a devastating effect on home values in the neighboring subdivisions, and local streets would be a nightmare to navigate. A vote to approve would also offer additional funds to Rockdale County through increased ad valorem taxes and sales taxes from residents of this development. I hope this development request will meet with your approval for benefit of all residents of Rockdale County. Thank you very much for your time and allowing me to speak on this matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Are there any questions, Commissioner Washington, for Mr. Boswell?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, I see you saying, okay, all right, very good. All right, Director Johnson, we'll keep moving. Do you have another speaker on the other side?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Keep rolling.
All right, thank you so much. Director Rutledge, I think we're ready for the next item. Is that correct, Director?
That's correct.
All right, very good. Okay, so the next item is 1076 Honey Creek Road, Southeast.
All right. All right, the next item is 1076 Honey Creek Road, Southeast, Conyers, Georgia, 30013. The requests are in regards to a 10.35 acre property by Tiffany Hogan with DR Horton Incorporated. And it's rezoning from currently AR, agricultural residential, to multifamily residential. Purpose is to develop a 75-unit town development. Here, first thing is a site map showing the site in the vicinity to the downtown administration building, where green is our administration building and the red is the subject property right along State Route 20 and Honey Creek. Here, next one is the Rockdale, the current zoning. Again, the X is indicating the current AR zoning. Again, it's at close to the intersection of Honey Creek Road and State Route 20. You see that it's currently residential, surrounded by a mixture of OI, commercial, as well as other residential. Without going into much detail for this one, staff recommends a continuance for rezoning for this particular item. A couple of items that happened was during the PC or in preparation for the PC. We had a couple of, I guess, snafus, confusion with advertising, misprint on public notices, as well as allow the petitioner / developer more time to fully encompass the surrounding community to hear from all residents. And so for that, for those two reasons, we recommend a continuance to go back to the Planning Commission again for this particular project.
I certainly appreciate that leadership of redirecting them back and giving an opportunity to iron out a few wrinkles. So I do appreciate that. Commissioner Washington, anything on this particular item? Commissioner Washington, anything on this particular item?
Can you all hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
I said not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. There's a little bit of a delay. Thank you so much. Commissioner Williams.
I don't have any questions at this time either.
Thank you so much. All right, with that being said, Director Johnson, is there anything related to this item?
No, sir. Nothing else. Again, just let residents know, even though there is a public hearing for this currently, but no decision will be made because of the fact we are recommending this to be remanded back to the Planning Commission for April. So,
outstanding. Let's move forward to your next item, please.
all right. The next item is we have requests to amend section 206-08, the RM residential multifamily district development standards. This is the item that as a request of the BOC for looking at townhomes. And so one second, apologize. One second. Okay, so section 206-8 RM multifamily district. Purpose for the immediate implementation is to basically looking at a quick fix to improve our standards for townhomes and condos in Rockdale County. A couple of things are to provide parking standards for townhomes. We talked much about making 2-car garages minimal unless otherwise approved by BOC. We want to strongly encourage rear loading garages for the townhomes and allow front load garages in the approved driveway, again, unless otherwise approved by the BOC. We want to allow for the standard multifamily building with 4 up and down units to be back to back and or to be connected for 8 townhome units in the building as well. In the near future, we will review the townhome and multifamily ordinance of some of the other governments, namely City of Conyers, some of the counties, Gwinnett, DeKalb, to determine the best way to approach this type of housing. Again, this is a text or amendment, again, based on a request for us to get a little more standards, uniformity with our townhome development. Again, some of the, and what you see in blue here, some of the items, again, making sure that the minimal lot width, 20 foot for townhomes, parking, 2-car garages minimal, rear load is strongly encouraged, and no parking outside of an approved driveway. If you don't have an approved driveway, you can't park in the front, but we are also recommending driveways. All right. The PC supported staff's text amendment and with an edit of the county staff's approval. And so basically, the 2-car garages wanted to be actual standard. And so everything else, I think that the PC was in support of with the change of making 2-car garages, making it standard. Finally, there is an item of, of dumpsters, making sure the location of dumpsters is pretty much standardized, making sure they're placed at both the front and rear of an apartment complex, depending on the size. It may be required in the middle of the complex. And this is obviously to help reduce the amount of litter on the county's roads, which, as the BOC knows, we have an issue with litter, particularly for some apartment complexes, multifamily, currently in the county. And so this is the end for that particular text amendment case number 2021-05.
Thank you, Director Johnson. And again, I want to commend you and your staff for doing your due diligence and putting this together and providing this feedback to both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. As you just stated, we all share the same level of concerns, particularly about the littering and making sure that the driveways are there. All of these particular logistics that you pointed out here are things that are concerned. And I think in a blanket statement, it relates to all of these developments that we are taking into consideration. So to see that you've done this in-depth research and provided this level of feedback to the board. We certainly do appreciate that. Commissioner Washington, I want to yield to you. Any other comments regarding what staff has done this morning?
One question, would these text apply to the D.H. Horton development that has already submitted, that's going back to the Planning Commission?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry. They won't apply?
Well, no, they won't apply for that particular one. Again, that is actually already, the application was already submitted. So before this particular item would be approved by the BOC, that particular application was already submitted, I guess, in the process, Commissioner Washington. So yes, so basically that it's not official as of yet. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay. Well, and because the D.H. Horton, that development, I think that's a one-car garage development, if I'm not mistaken. Is that not correct?
Right. They are proposing on some of them, not all of the units. They are proposing some one-car garages on some of the units. And so we still have some time to, in terms of conditions for rezoning, but not all. They have a combination of 2-car as well as some 1-car garages. And again, right now it's still in the proposal phase.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Williams, any comments on this one?
Yes, so two things that I'm trying to think through is the staff recommended that we have, the little edit in there that says we could approve on a case-by-case basis a 1-car garage, and the Planning Commission has recommended they take that out so that there would be no option for that. That's an interesting situation. And it's always good to have some flexibility. It's also good to have set standards. So that's just something to be thinking about, is that that little edit. I'm also thinking that change in size from 6 units to 8 units. I would prefer to keep it at the 6 units. Just it becomes less wieldy, less motion within one building. What was the reason for changing that, Director Johnson?
Just to allow, again, you mentioned the term flexibility in a case-by-case basis for certain projects. If they are stacking buildings, if they're back-to-back, you have 4 units stacked back-to-back, which would be 8. Again, that won't apply in all cases, but it will just allow us some flexibility. So 6 to 8 units, we decided to let 8 be the max.
Okay, well, I like the 6 being the max with 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Okay, that's, again, it's definitely we can definitely consider that. Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Washington. Thank you both. Again, thank you, Director Johnson, for preparing this and giving this level of feedback to the board here this morning. What is the next point of business regarding this item?
That's it for that item, sir. We have.
All right, let's move to the next item. Thank you so much.
Okay. The next item is a request to amend section 106-1 definitions, section 206-1 for watershed protection district, section 218-1 table of permitted uses, and section 218-13, standards of use and development regarding dewatering. And these definitions are for a couple of reasons, based on some of the requests for projects from applicants, as well as some of the research that our staff has committed on these. And so I want you to think we were just arbitrarily picking certain topics. And so it's both from our internal review where we see deficiencies and inconsistencies in our ordinance, as well as some of the requests for different projects. And so hence the need for these particular definitions, and maybe in the future, next month, we will have some other definitions. But right now we want to talk about the dewatering. Dewatering is one where pretty much a site where raw earth materials are recovered off-site for the purpose of processing and disposing excess earth and earth-like materials for drilling, boring, and hydro excavation. And this is something that we want to do to be compatible with state. You see the Georgia Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Act, as well as the rules for solid waste management. And so where the state right now has mandated, and they have rules for the actual operation, this definition for us will allow us to actually have, I guess, more impact on the actual location of it. So we have dewatering classifications, Class A, Class B, Class C. Class A is a site less than an acre. Class B is a site between 1 and 5. And Class C will be a site greater than 5 acres. All right, the table here we're showing where, again, the use is dewatering Class A in the WNR actual, and it's going to be a conditional use. And as you see, the table on 218-1, table of permitted uses, Class A, Class B, and Class C in the AR region where supplemental regulations, yes. And it will be a conditional use in AR for M1 and M2. It will be permitted, as well as a conditional use for all three of those areas. Again, based on less than an acre, 1 to 5, and over 5 acres. Again, and I want to read all these pretty much that we'll make sure that this type of activity will take place on the interior property, not within 200 feet of state waters, creeks, streams. The 250-foot wide buffer shall be maintained on all property lines, making sure that the site is enclosed with a security fence, 6 feet in height. Access shall be limited to the site to only authorized entrances during normal business hours, and making sure that the sites must determine, process, and handle earth and earth-like materials as recovered material. And the sites must be in compliance with all other relevant county codes, including an LDP, and must be in compliance with the state of Georgia EPD policies, including obtaining the appropriate MPDES permits. Basically, we want to address it as a land use, and we're proposing to codify the EPD language to be consistent with our own county ordinances. We have proposed a land use requirements through conditional permitting, again, case-by-case basis. The setback requirements, making sure that we are not imposing on any surrounding buffers for sites, and making sure that we are looking at in terms of recovered material. So a site cannot store raw materials on site and just have piles of dirt just sitting there. It has to be something with, I think, between between a year. So no more than 11 months that dirt and earth-like materials can only be stored for no more than 11 months on sites. And so those are some of the issues, the basic components for this particular item. And a couple of ways to kind of bring it home. We are proposing addressing it as a land use, upholding the state standards, preserving the county's environment, and of course, acknowledging the land uses, historical land uses in Rockdale County. We're not allowing dewatering in the dense residential areas. Again, it was AR, it was M1 and M2. We don't want to jeopardize the health of our rivers and streams based on our buffer requirements. And we are expanding the industrial land uses by right. And we're not doing those, I'm sorry, yeah. Planning Commission as well as staff recommended approval for amending those 3 sections of our ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Johnson. Again, this is great work. This is leadership, because protecting our our WP is very important, making sure that everybody that's coming and moving throughout Rockdale County is crystal clear. Commissioner Williams used the term a little while ago, having a standard, and making sure that standard is communicated all throughout Rockdale County. I'm going to yield to Commissioner Washington. Any comments, questions, or concerns on this action?
Yeah, no, except for you always learn something in this seat, dewatering. But no questions or comments at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Commissioner Williams.
I don't have any comments or questions either.
Fantastic. All right, Director Johnson, any additional comments on this particular?
We have two individuals, Mr. Chairman, Stan and Sherry Johnson, that want to speak to give us a little more insight as to the practice of dewatering. So I would defer to Stan and Sherry. Which one first? Stan?
My name is Stan Johnson. I'm one of the property owners. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hear you loud and clear.
Me and my sister, we're the property owners, you know, just trying to obtain this permit. And I also work for Southeast Connections, who's a major underground utility contractor that's based here out of Conyers. We also have HydroX, which is based out of Conyers. And in the hydro excavation, it is the way of the future for locating and spotting existing utilities. As Rockdale County is fully aware of owning their own water system or sewer system, AT&T's in the area, how vital it is to not damage existing utilities. And so this is the way that everybody is going by spotting these utilities. We've had questions about, you know, contaminated dirt. If there's any contamination, we will not suck it up anyway. This is the actual dirt that's coming out from existing utilities, and we just dry it out with a drying agent. And within about 48 hours, it's ready to go right back and put around those utilities. As you can see around Rockdale County, we have multiple jobs going on as we speak behind the hospital, out on Almond Road, just throughout Rockdale and Metro Atlanta. We invited Rockdale County Planning Commission came out, Tanner, Mr. Reese, we had stormwater, we had the state of Georgia come out, and we walked the entire property. And they can agree, everything was contained and everything was nice and neat, and took them on a little hike. I think Tanner was tired than anybody after that one, but I really enjoyed their company and got a lot of input from them, and I appreciate their time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Director Johnson.
Ms. Sherry Johnson, do you have anything to add to that? You're on mute, Ms. Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, are you there?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Technically challenged this morning, excuse me. No, I just want to say to reiterate what my brother said, and we fully support this amendment. And also to just let you know, we are extremely dedicated to protecting the watershed district. We've had that land in our, in our family 80+ years. The creek runs through there. We are very much supporting keeping it clean. We would just like Gwinnett County maybe to keep it a little clean, because we have to clean up after every storm of the stuff that comes down through there, but we're not ones that contribute to it. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sherry. Thank you so much. Absolutely. And certainly to you and Stan, we appreciate your comments, your support. I'm very familiar with SCC here in Rockdale County. You all have been a part of the fabric of this community for quite some time, and we appreciate that as well. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Director Johnson?
Next item.
All right.
Okay. The next item is a request to amend section 106-1. Again, it's more definitions. This is, again, an internal motion that staff believes that we need some revisions to clarify some of the definitions and to provide a few new definitions, along with fixing some of the scrivener's or printing errors. The Planning Commission staff recommended that this project be sent back to the PC in April and is split into 3 text amendments. The 3 items are a non-residential district, something that's commercial or industrially zoned property, creating a definition for and to fix the scrivener's errors in the existing definitions. The second is truck stops, to provide a clarification regarding whether or not gas stations can have diesel pumps, and if so, how many, and whether or not a convenience store and restaurant can be in the same building as a gas station. The third item is personal agriculture, and then at a later date, we'll provide a definition 4 and 2 to allow this in all residential districts and all districts where applicable. Okay, those are the 3, and again, these will be, the truck stop will be sent back to the, all three will be sent back to the Planning Commission and split into 3 text amendments instead of one single one. And again, this is based on inconsistencies as well as some of the requests we've had for projects, Mr. Chairman, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Director. This brings a lot of clarity. I'm interested to hear and see what the Planning Commission says. Director Johnson, is there any other piece you want to make mention? I'm going to call on the 2 commissioners for any comment here, but I want to make sure before we move forward, is there anything else relative to this particular piece?
No, sir.
Commissioner Washington, any comments here?
I have no comments.
Commissioner Williams?
No.
All right, thank you so much. Director Johnson, any other we have this morning?
Yes, next item we have is a request to amend section 218-1, table of permitted uses. Again, making sure for, errors, inconsistency, and what's on the ground and versus actually some of the items that were removed from our ordinance in prior years. And so we believe that this section needs revisions, more clarification of zoning use, and to allow certain existing uses in the M1 district. The Planning Commission supported our motion to move forward with edits of our proposal. We were looking at removing the agriculture personal zoning use, handle it separately, and allowing the place of worship zoning use to continue to be permitted in the M1 limited industrial zoning district. And just without going too much detail here, if you notice the blue, the P's for permitted, you see where the temporary building, salvage yards, the general farming, forestry. So you see some of the edits that we have recommended to make sure that, number one, the temporary buildings will be allowed in a majority of these districts, and the offices of real estate agents, advertising agencies, commercial photography, we permitted in M1. And so, again, to summarize, is making sure that the industrial M1 light industrial area will allow certain uses. The next table, again, the blue, where we have included more permitted uses, and this time for professional services, PR, research and development. Again, just allowing more uses to be included in the light industrial M1 zoning area. Okay, now this particular one, Mr. Chairman, we do have okay. Well, I thought we had some speakers to talk about the supplemental standards, but they're not on today. But that concludes that particular item from our vantage point, sir.
Very good, very good. Do you have another item? Am I tracking that we
got one more.
One more, yes, sir.
Okay, if there are no comments from the other commissioners, we will move forward to a request to amend section 218-13. This is standards of use and development. Again, this is where staff will leave the section, again, as the others need some revisions and more clarification to allow existing uses in the M1 zoning district. A lot of uses are actually in M1 now, but the actual tables are not showing that. And so the PC voted to approve our recommendation with an edit of a proposal, clarifying in this particular instance that drug rehab centers or other facilities for treatment of drug dependency is not permitted in residential districts. Drug rehabs are not permitted in residential districts. Clarify that certain uses may qualify as a DRI, and to make sure we match the names in section 218-1. And as you see here, where the red is items that we were removing, and we included items that are in blue, drug rehab or other facility for treatment of drug dependency. Again, it's making sure that they are in the proper, they're not in a residential district. And so obviously item number 3, if it were to abut will be adjacent to a residential district. We are setting standards in terms of, as you see, some of the items that have to comply. Again, so let's see, drug rehab center, let's see, next one. Next one is a place of worship. Again, churches, making sure that they are located on a local collector or arterial road as defined by our DOT, making sure they have the adequate lot frontage and access to that same transportation facility. And if a church place of worship is located on a local or a residential zone property, you need a special use permit. And if it's on a local road, a non-residential property, it should be permitted by right. And that kind of summarizes this particular item. The final one we have here is equestrian training sales facility, provided when in the WP and the AR districts that the definition, any structure, pen, or corral should be located no closer than 100 feet from any property line. And this is again from the old 2004 zoning ordinance. Again, trying to make sure we try to remedy some of the inconsistencies that we currently have. And I do believe that is it, sir.
Well, great job, Director Johnson. All of these upgrades, revisions, and improvements certainly will be moving the county in the right direction. I'm going to yield now as we prepare to wrap up to both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Washington, I'll start with you. Any closing comments or questions or concerns?
I just would like to say thank you to the planning staff for their great work in trying to get us at least together and presentable and making everything flow. So I appreciate. And then of course, always I like the work that they're doing on setting standards for so thank you.
Commissioner.
So, yeah, I have some concerns about that proposed edit about not allowing transitional homes and that kind of thing in the county. Those are allowed in the city, and there is no evidence that they are creating crime or anything, any adverse impact in the neighborhood. I live near several of them.
Commissioner Williams, just for clarification, the edit is to not allow them in certain residential districts. They are allowed in OI.
I understand that, but
okay.
I'm saying I have some concerns about limiting them outside of, to only outside of residential neighborhoods, because if they're going to assimilate, if these are people who are really in transition and really are trying to assimilate back into society, they need to be able to live in a neighborhood. They need to be able to live. And I know that everybody says, not in my neighborhood, not in my backyard. I don't want them near here. But the transitional homes I'm aware of have strict oversight. They're very, they're like I said, they are not places that attract criminals. They are working with people to change their lives. So I could not go along with that edit as it is written.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams, for your continued passion in this area. I'm certainly not surprised of the level of passion. I do want to give Director Johnson an opportunity here to just speak about the direction and the backdrop in terms of this edit here. Can you give us that, Director Johnson?
Yes, sir. I'm going to defer to my county, our zoning administrator, regarding that specific item. Add a little more clarity.
So currently, they're not permitted in residential zoning districts pursuant to the principal use table. There is an inconsistency between principal use table and the supplemental use standards today. And so although the principal use table says that it's not permitted in the residential districts, the supplemental standard says if you are in a residential district, these standards apply. And so that is why we were removing that inconsistency in the supplementary use standards. At least that's why we were proposing to do so. We were not editing the principal use table as it stands today. We were just fixing the inconsistency.
Thank you so much. I want to suggest, Director Johnson, that you create an opportunity to meet with Commissioner Williams on this one and get more insight from her. And I think this is an opportunity to work together with our planning development and make sure that you are hearing the clear sentiments of the commissioner and her vision. She's been, as all of us know, she's quite passionate about these particular subjects as it relate to mental health, mental illness, drug and substance abuse. And we don't want to disenfranchise anybody, but we don't want to pull anyone else out of their comfort zone. And I know that this is a difficult task, but I believe that with all of the work that the commissioner has done, all of the wisdom and leadership in the planning and development department, I am confident that there is a common ground, but it's going to take a little bit of time. It's certainly going to take collaboration. So I want to strongly encourage you, Director Johnson, to take the lead, reach out and set up a time to meet with Commissioner Williams and let's hear her concerns as we prepare to move forward. But I do want to commend you because I clearly see and hear the inconsistencies. And as Terry's pointed out, that has to be, clarity has to be in this picture, because you can't say one thing over here in one breath and say totally something else in the other breath that conflicts with what the public is hearing. And we've got some situations where these things already exist, but then we're telling other people you can't do something. And it creates confusion and inconsistencies within our operation. I do appreciate that. Commissioner Williams, you're open to meeting with.
Oh, absolutely. I would really appreciate the opportunity to make sure I understand exactly what is being proposed and to make sure that it, that we can come up with a solution that works for our community.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be in touch with you, Commissioner Williams. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Director Johnson, is there any other business that we need to take up regarding our public hearing this morning from Planning and Development?
That's it. No, sir.
Well, I want to say again, thank you for your leadership. Thank you to your staff. We certainly do appreciate all the work you're doing, and you're moving us in the right direction. And I like the fact that you're taking your time, you're doing your due diligence and your research. And the biggest thing that Commissioner Washington pointed out a couple of weeks was that these developers are listening to the desires of the Board of Commissioners, and the commissioners are listening to the people in the community. That level of communication is paramount, and I do appreciate that. Director Rutledge, I think we're at a place here we can close our meeting out with you and Chief Kate.
That is correct.
All right. Well, if that being said, I think that we are now at a point of closing out this meeting, commissioners. And I'm going to recommend that we take at least a 5-minute break and transition as we prepare to go into the Board of Commissioners voting session here in about 5 minutes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
I'm between meetings. I was in zoning meeting. The board meeting starts in 5.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I see most of our team on board. I want to make sure that both of the commissioners are here. Commissioner Washington, are you back from our 5-minute break? Commissioner Williams?
Ooh,
Here.
I made it back, y'all.
All right. Okay.
Touch and go there.
Commissioner Williams, are you back yet? All right, we'll give Commissioner Williams just a few seconds. I think she had to take the dog out. We'll give her just a second or two.
So, Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting, I just want to let everybody know after you call it to order this morning, we have Deputy Director Vaughn Jamison here to give the invocation for us.
Oh, outstanding, outstanding. Yes, yes. I see that he is plugged in and ready to go and ready to lead us in a great word of prayer here. So thank you for standing in the gap there, Deputy Director Jamison. Absolutely. Absolutely. I see the county attorney is on board. Mr. County Attorney, yes, sir. All right. Chief Cave, are you back with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am back.
All right, you tracking. All right.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Commissioner Williams just came off mute. I think she's back.
Oh, all right. Very good. I do want to make mention before I call the meeting to order. Technology, we've all been on Zoom and Teams and all of the technology that this pandemic has forced us into. I just want to take a moment before we get started to remind all of us just to be patient a little bit, as sometimes there is a little bit of a delay with communication and information. If you need to adjust your volume so that those that are watching and listening can hear, I want to ask that you do that at this time. I also want to remind you that when and if you're not speaking, if you would put your microphone on mute so that we don't have the dogs, the cats, the train, the fire truck, if at all possible. That may happen during the course of you communicating, but in the meantime or during the interim, if you would simply place it on mute to help kind of minimize it a little bit. We do know technology sometimes has a mind of its own, and we're at the mercy of technology quite often. So don't get upset. Please be patient if there's a slight delay between characters and communication and speaking this morning. Wanted to get that out. Director Rutledge, I want to go ahead and call our meeting to order this morning. And again, I want to go over to none other than our very own Deputy Director of Water Resources, Mr. Vaughn Jamison, will open us up this morning with both the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Deputy Director Jamison.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone, to all the leaders and to this great community called Rockdale County. Can we pray? Kind Father, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for never leaving us, neither forsaking us. We thank you for this great community called Rockdale County. We thank you for her leaders. We thank you for our chairman. We thank you for our commissioners. We thank you for our leaders. We thank you, Lord, that they have embraced this call to public service. God, it's not an easy task, but it's one that they counted worthy enough to embrace. So God, we thank you for them. We thank you for crowning their head with wisdom and insight, Father, to lead this great community. We thank you for our public safety. We thank you for our firemen and our police officers. We thank you for them answering the call to protect and to serve this great community. And Father, we thank you for these people that live in Rockdale County that entrust leadership, Father, to take it to its next dimension. God, even in the midst of a global pandemic, Lord, we are still living. We are still vibrant. We are still forging the way. So God, we thank you, Lord, that we shall speak, live, and we shall fight. We shall speak life. We shall live wisely. And God, we shall fight fear. We thank you for this community. We thank you that Rockdale has been built on a rock. And just like you told Peter that upon this rock you would build your church and the gates of hell wouldn't prevail against it, God, God, we thank you that no weapon shall prevail against Rockdale, that no weapon, God, that fear shall not prevail against Rockdale, that poverty won't prevail against Rockdale, that sickness won't prevail against Rockdale. But God, we thank you that we are a prosperous community. We thank you that we are wealthy. We thank you that we are healthy. And God, we thank you that we are forging the way for economic development and innovation. We honor you and we thank you for this opportunity to live in a community that's on the cutting edge. We honor you and we thank you right now. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. We can say our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
allegiance
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Deputy Director Von Jameson. Deputy Director Jameson, everyone, is our Deputy Director of Water Resources here in Rockdale County. He and Director Bogan are doing a fantastic job. Folks have already coined them on the campus as Batman and Robin. This morning, Deputy Director Jameson, you've done a fantastic job leading us in prayer and invocation. In fact, it was quite soul stirring this morning. I'm just about ready to have a little bit of church this morning. But due to the business at hand, I'm gonna let church take place in my spirit, and I'll get out of the way of that and we'll move right on with our business at hand this morning. Thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you in the days ahead. Thank you, Deputy Director Johnson. At this time, Commissioners, we have a presentation from our Public Relations Department, a Juneteenth video series that they're going to be presenting at this time. Commissioner Washington.
All right, good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is Janetta Owens, Operations Manager of the Public Relations Department. And as you all know, we've been doing our Black History Juneteenth series, and today we're showing episode Black Civic Life. So, Satara.
After the 13th Amendment finally became law in 1870, Black people were officially no longer enslaved, but we know there was a big difference between what's official and what really goes on. So Black people in particular, were not as free as were their white counterparts. So they realized that they had to do things for themselves. They had to build a community, and they had to find ways to support each other. They did that in starting up churches and schools and various character building organizations like the Masons and the female counterpart, the Eastern Stars. There were those kinds of organizations in the area. The Prince Hall Masons, by the way, date to 1784. So that was shortly after the United States itself was created, and obviously that would have been free Blacks who were forming that organization. One of the organizations that was more local to Rockdale, and particularly to Conyers, was called the Moral Elevation Society. That started in 1890 by a man named Robert B. Carr. He was a pastor of Shady Grove Baptist Church. The organizations came into being like so many institutions in Black life. It came into being because Black people were being denied any kind of insurance coverage. So the Moral Elevation Society was one of those organizations that provided burial benefits and also some money to help with the widows and the orphans. The Moral Elevation Society group at Shady Grove was joined later by Old Pleasant Hill Baptist Church and Peaks Chapel. So they merged, and for years they would assess themselves dues, but they would have fundraisers. There would be rallies at various churches, and with the idea that the money collected in that offering would go to the work of the society. So he told the story of a guy named Barry Hudson, who was pretty much crushed to death when he was cutting down trees and one of them fell on him. But the part that got my attention was this. He belonged to the Colored Odd Fellows Lodge, and his family will receive $300 from them. He also belonged to the Burial Association, which paid his burial expenses, end of quote. So that shows how people had to, there's a phrase we use, they had to make a way out of no way. Not every activity involving advancing the community came about in groups that were organized with officers and dues and bylaws. Often this kind of doing good for the community emerged in very informal ways. The Citizens Progressive Club came into being in part to build a playground so that Black kids would have some recreational space. So organizations that we know today, like the Citizens Progressive Club, the NAACP, and a number of social clubs that really have a charitable bent, they stem from a long and very proud tradition here in Rockdale County.
Wow.
All right, Mr. Chairman, as you know, we'll keep continuing this series out throughout until Juneteenth, and that is all we have for you this morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you to the PR staff, a very educational and informative piece that you'll continue to do. And we certainly appreciate it. Each and every time I hear anything coming out of ER Ship, she is a great orator. She knows the history. She lives the history. It is so much a part of who she is. And we are fortunate to have her and fortunate to have her collaborating with our public relations department. Great video, great presentation. We are excited about more to come. So keep up the good work, Ms. Owens, you and your staff. Thank you so much. At this time, commissioners, it is time to have the approval of the agenda. What is your pleasure?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns concerning the minutes, the agenda? Motion carries. Next one is the approval of the minutes from February 23rd of 2021. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Did you move to approve the minutes as presented?
I second the motion.
Thank you so much. It has been properly motioned by Commissioner Washington and has been seconded by Commissioner Williams. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Unfinished business, item 21-103.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 103 is the Animal Care and Control Strategic Plan. It is my understanding that after the public input that the amendments were made and have been posted onto the site, and the amended plan is before you this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm going to yield to Chief Cade on this one. Chief Cade, any comments on this one before we move to the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the citizen involvement that went into getting this plan to the point to where it is today. I also want to thank our EMA department, Director Morgan, and also our Animal Services Division, CG Baker, for getting us to this point. To the citizens of Rockdale County, and in particular, the RAG organization, the Animal Advocacy Group, just want to make you aware that your voices were heard by your commissioners. They heard you loud and clear as it relates to the amendments that you wanted to make to the plan. And I just want to put it on the record that the sentence below are the key areas of change and improvement that the division will implement was in fact added to page 3 and page 32 of the Animal Services Strategic Plan prior to this meeting. So that is the version that has been presented to our commissioners. And some of you have already sent emails voicing your satisfaction with that. And we thank you very much for allowing your voices to be heard. So we're very happy, commissioners, to present this plan to you all for your consideration this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief Kate. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve finally this amended version of the Animal Care and Control Strategic Plan.
I finally second that motion.
All right, it has been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on this item?
Well, I just want to, I really want to thank Animal Control and EMA for their continued dedicated hard work on getting this plan in the shape that it is right now. I think I think that it's a great plan. It's been refined numerous times and edited. And I think they've done a really good job listening to the community, as well as researching what's being done in other communities. And I just really appreciate them.
Commissioner Washington, any comments?
I ditto everything that Commissioner Williams has said. This is a great document. It was what I would say was exemplary before we added the suggested text amendments, and they were I want to say minuscule, but they were small words, but they have a great impact. And I think that they have the impact of showing that we are truly committed to our animal control department and making the changes that the citizens that are involved in the organization feel are necessary. It's kind of a commitment that we've given them, and we've put enough, as they say, skin in the game to show that we're serious about this plan. So I'm looking forward to implementing the plan. I'm looking forward to working with the Animal Control Advocacy Group. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out, making Rockdale County's Animal Control Department the best in the state of Georgia. And then also, as Commissioner Williams said, I'd like to thank our Animal Control Department, our EMA department, and Sue Sanders and everybody else that was involved in working through this and making sure that we had the best plan possible.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Washington. I won't get into calling out names because I'll get in trouble, but thank you to everybody, because I think just about everybody in every department in this county has touched this particular one. And a big shout out and thank you to the advocacy group, who the folks in Rockdale County who love our animals and our pets. Thank you for being persistent. Thank you for being patient. And we certainly thank you for your prayers. I like to call that, Chief K, PPP, persistence, patience, and prayers. Now we have a final product. Thank you so much. Okay, Commissioner, so it has been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Outstanding, outstanding. Next item, please.
All right, the next item is item 2021-113. These are amendments to the employee pay and classification plan.
I move to approve the amendments to the employee pay and classification plan as presented.
I second the motion.
It has been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments on this particular item? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, this has been long awaited, a year in the making. This is before you this morning is the items on the consent agenda.
Yes, and
Yes.
Yes, we know, this is a big deal, so.
Yes, it's very robust.
Yes.
So I move to approve the items on the consent agenda as listed below.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned.
We lost you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, you're on mute.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, all in favor, it has been properly motioned and second. Are all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries and technology is still tripping.
Oh, I know.
All right.
All right, good. Now, we are down to the regular agenda, which is item 8, and we are on item 2021-124, the contract with George Diaz, Director of Public Relations, severance agreement and general release, 6-month lump sum payment submitted for ratification this morning.
I move to ratify this item as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. I don't,
Comments regarding this agenda. Can you hear me?
I don't know what's happening with my my volume or sound. I'm coming in and out. It seems like.
Commissioner Washington was going to say something. Is that right?
Yes, I have some comments. I just wanted to clarify a few things regarding this severance agreement and general release that was said at our work session. I didn't have the data at hand to respond to some of the things that were said. So I wanted to make some clarifications. First, this is a ratification. It was stated that that we shouldn't ratify things that you don't get the opportunity to change our minds when we ratify things. And I wanted to do the research. I went and did the research on how many things that have been ratified in my administration. And I just went back to 2019. That year alone, we ratified 33 items. And when we ratified an item, that just means that something has taken place and we need to go back and perfect the record for it. We've already have a consensus as to how and spread it amongst the minutes so that it's proper. So in 2019, we had 33 items ratified. In 2020, we had 37 items ratified. In 2021, we've already ratified 6 items. And that night, in addition to putting it on the consent on the agenda that we were going to ratify this contract, we ratified another contract where we would be paying $22,000 to the city of Conyers for an event that we were going to have. That means that we've already made the decision and we were ratifying it. So all of that to say that a ratification is nothing that is unusual. It is often used and it's nothing that we do that we're trying to pull the wool over the people's eyes. Put it on the agenda. We had a robust discussion about it. We were not trying to not have a discussion about it, but we wanted to move on. Also, that the suggestion to move forward in a ratification came from talent management, and we just thought that it was a good idea to go ahead and sever the relationship with this particular employee and move forward. The second thing that was stated that I wanted to give some context to was that people who resign should not get severance agreements. And then we also had emails stating, well, people who quit their job or resign from a position should not get severance agreements. People in big corporations don't get it, and other things. And that's not necessarily true, definitely not true for big corporations, because you see huge settlement agreements or resignation agreements or golden parachutes given in lieu of a resignation. But in the context of Rockdale County, I went back starting in 2009 to look at any contract, any directors that voluntarily resigned and were given severance pay. We have Daryl Bowie, Gerald Sanders, Tanya Parker, Katrina Holloway, Corey Hambrick, and now we have George Diaz. So once again, we didn't do anything that was unusual or out of the way for this particular severance agreement. We wanted to go ahead and as quickly and I say cost effectively sever this agreement and get other legal provisions in lieu of a severance. I believe was in the best interest of the county. Finally, it was said that we should have gone through a proper protocol. We did go through proper protocol. I'm sorry, this is my, I think my third point. We did go through proper protocol. Protocol with regards to the commissioners is not that we have to report to anybody our decision. Reports directly to us. If we have something that we want the county attorney to do and we have the votes needed, then we can go to the county attorney and ask them to draft up a severance agreement. And he, at the direction of both of us, he has to do that because he reports to us. It is not necessarily for us to go to anybody else to get anything done. That is the way that the charter is set up. Finally, it's saying that we only deal with policy decisions. Well, it is my contention that this was a policy decision. It is we made the policy decision that we find out that people are being what we consider mistreated and treated in a way that's unbecoming of anybody at the workforce, then we will take those things into consideration when we're making decisions regarding severance and other things, especially when it's at a high level of a directorship. So that was a policy decision that was being made. I stand by the decision that Commissioner Williams and I have made in this regard. And I'm looking forward to moving forward after we take the vote on this measure.
Thank you, Commissioner Washington. Commissioner Williams, did you have any comments?
No, I do not have any comments at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been properly motioned and all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. For the record, I'm saying nay. Thank you so much. Motion is carried. Next item, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next item is item 2021-136. This is the appointment of Mr. Terrence Simpkins as the Director of the Stormwater Department. And it is my understanding he is with us this morning and that the Deputy Director Carter would like to introduce him. And I think he's going to say a few things.
All right, Deputy Director Carter, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. We are super excited to introduce the appointee for Stormwater Director. We have Mr. Terrence Simpkins. He comes to us with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering and Technology from South Carolina State University. Key courses included project management, construction, hydrology, structural mechanics, and soil mechanics. His resume, as mentioned last week, is extremely impressive, and I will not read it all, but I will highlight that he has over 20 years of experience in public works and natural resources. Most recently, he's joining us after a tenure with DeKalb County. So I'd like to introduce you all to Terrence Simkins.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Can everybody hear me?
Good morning, Mr. Simpkins. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, it is just a pleasure to meet everybody. I am super excited to come over to Rockdale. I think I bring a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm just ready to move Rockdale County forward. I'm just thankful to Chairman Nesbitt, the Board of Commissioners, and everybody who had a hand in giving me this opportunity. And I'm just ready to come over, roll my sleeves up, and get to work. I'm just truly thankful.
Well, Mr. Simpkins, thank you so much. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just say, Director Simpkins, welcome to Rockdale County.
Yes, sir.
We are super excited. You have certainly been a star candidate transitioning and moving through our talent management department, and all of the leaders who had a hand in doing a preliminary interview with you has been nothing but high marks. So we are excited about having you on board. We look forward to your leadership here in Rockdale County. And I want to point out, Commissioners, one of the things that Simpkins pointed out to me as we were really doing a meet and greet, he said that he is not afraid to put on the orange vest or the yellow vest and get out there in the trenches with the men and women of Rockdale County. And that was quite impressive to me. Whenever you have a leader, a director who wants to be tangible and touchable and on the scene, and we've got a lot going, as you know, all throughout Rockdale County, that not only requires, but at sometimes, Director Simpkins, it demands that our leadership from the director level is actually out on the scene. So, Commissioners, if you all would join me in giving him a round of applause at this time. Welcome him to Rockdale County. Thank you, Mr. Simpkins, and we will see you on the ground in the days ahead. Thank you so much.
Yes,
congratulations.
Thank you very much, and I'm truly looking forward to it.
All right, all right. Commissioners, what's your pleasure here?
So I move to approve the appointment of Terrence Simpkins as the Director of the Stormwater Department.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you again, Director Simpkins, and welcome to Rockdale County.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, and I truly look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Director Rutledge, next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For items 2021-137 and 138, before I go into the statutory second reading of these ordinances, we would like to turn it over to Director Johnson. If he could go over both of the future land use map amendment and the rezoning request related to these two ordinances, and then I'll take it back for the readings. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Director Johnson. Director Johnson. Director Rutledge, I've got to blame it on technology.
I can't think that it's anything else. Maybe while we're waiting for him, what I would like to do then, because I know that Commissioner Williams has some questions about both of these ordinances. So maybe while we're waiting to see if we can get him to pull up, I'll go ahead and read both of the ordinances, but we will wait on the vote until we can have that discussion. Does that sound okay to y'all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, so item 2021-137 is a future land use map amendment request, case 2021-03. An ordinance to amend the Rockdale County Comprehensive plan future land use map as amended so as to redesignate property located at 2325, 2328, and 0 Gees Mill Road Northeast and 0 Glen Road Northeast, Conyers, Georgia, 30013 from the light industrial and medium density residential future land use categories to the high density residential future land use category, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for the second reading. I will go also to item 2021-138. This is the accompanying rezoning request for case number 2021-04, an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning property located at 2325, 2385, and 0 Gees Mill Road Northeast, and 0 Glen Road Northeast, Conyers, Georgia, 30013, from the R1 Single Family Zoning District to the RM Multifamily Zoning District, to impose conditions upon the amendment, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is also submitted for a second reading this morning.
All right, I think we have Director Johnson. Director Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, so 2021-137 and 138, Gees Mill Road, as the Director Rutledge mentioned. We have a couple of items here, the proposed items and concerns with this. The benefits of this particular item is obviously it will provide additional housing to diversify housing, which is an issue that we've talked much about in the county. It will be a nice transition between the city of Conyers, between industrial uses to the west, and a buffer for the single family residential community to the east. Obviously, it's going to preserve the ecological features on the property. And as has been stated several times, the applicants have done above and beyond what the county has asked in terms of green space and actually shifting the footprint of the particular development to alleviate some of the initial concerns of the residents. So there will be multiple ingress, egress points for vehicles along Gees Mill and Glen Road, and enhanced bike and ped facilities throughout the property, excuse me. Some of the issues and concerns from residents with this particular item will be obviously sewer capacity. And we've talked to our RWR department regarding sewer availability and capacity issues in that particular area, and roadway capacity. And so Sigmund and Salem Road will be widened in the vicinity to help alleviate or help to address some of the traffic issues that may develop as a result of this actual development. School capacity was another item that actually arose. And there are room for growth in Salem High School in the area, Memorial Middle, and Hightower Elementary. And one of the other issues that came up were the housing price points and market. And these are looking at approximately $250,000, $260,000 for the initial price points based on what the feedback we got from the applicant. And so those are some of the, I guess pluses and minuses, if you will, from the our PC and our various communication times with the actual applicant in this issue. Were there any other questions, Mr. Chairman?
No, sir. Director Johnson, you did an outstanding job. Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to hear from you before we presented everything to the commissioners at this time. Director Rutledge, I think we're ready to make the formal presentation to the commissioners. Is that correct?
Yes, so we've done the reading of the ordinance, and so now we have item 2021-137 before you.
All right. Commissioners, what's your pleasure? Item number 137.
To approve the second reading of this ordinance as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any additional questions, comments, and concerns on this item? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 2021-138, and this is the second reading for the rezoning request.
So I move to approve the second read and to adopt this ordinance as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Any questions, concerns, comments on this item? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item 2021-139 is a resolution to reduce the time for filing an application or amendment to the comprehensive land use plan map or the official zoning maps affecting the property at 1101 Johnson Road Southwest and 0 Johnson Road Southwest. And this is pursuant to Rockdale County Code Section 238, subsection A, section 2, and for other purposes.
Commissioners, pleasure.
I move to approve this resolution as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
I was just going to say that really having to shorten this application filing time, a lot of that has to do with COVID and the fact that, you know, things have not moved as quickly. And this is not standard, but in this case, it seemed to be expedient.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. You're absolutely right. And I will tell you that although COVID has really set all of us back in so many ways, planning and development, as with several of our other departments, have still been able to operate and keep business moving and servicing the community here in Rockdale County. Okay, it's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we are down to public comment.
Rocking and rolling, absolutely. At this time, Director Rutledge, I'd ask that you do the disclaimer for the public comment, and then we'll follow the leadership of public relations.
So I will turn it over to public relations. They have taken that on, as well as who has signed up. So
All right. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, thank you. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman and not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted. And we have one person for public comment, and that is Mr. George Kelichek.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you loud and clear, Mr. Kelichek. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Martin Luther King stated, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. If you stop learning, you stop growing." I have a degree in management psychology. It was very apparent to our association members and Rockdale County citizens, this administration has not received specialized training in social style leadership traits. This was observed during the 323 meeting and previous Board of Commissioners meeting. The training that I received from Wilson Learning Systems, which I participated in my 35 years during the private sector careers, it taught me social leadership styles which lead to increased efficiency and effectiveness for yourself, directors, and employees. Some of you do not like my research, but I will press on. Observations. Mr. Chairman, there is no reason to choose someone out or raise your voice. There are professional processes and ways to speak with people to achieve results. Your pattern of berating Mr. Daniel Morgan during the Lake Lanier budget retreat 2 years ago was very unprofessional. While you and Mr. Morgan were out of the room, the directors mentioned their relief that you did not speak with them in such an unprofessional manner. I was accused of grandstanding by you after a financial presentation to the BOC and the Rockdale County citizens last year. I offer my assistance to meet with each of you individually and Ms. Tony Holmes to review the specialized training by Wilson Learning Systems, a worldwide organization. I believe, and this organization believes, that there is a sincere apology due to the citizens and taxpayer, which is warranted by you, Mr. Chairman. In closing, in order to get smart, you have to ask a lot of questions, and I will continue to do so on behalf of the Taxpayers Association and the citizens of Rockdale County. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kelichek, and as always, we thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of the county. All right, I think, Ms. Owens, that concludes the public comments portion. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, it's now time for board comment. I'm going to start with none other than Commissioner Washington.
Well, good. Is it morning? It is still morning. I'm excited about that, Chairman. That is amazing. First of all, the Juneteenth videos, those are amazing. I'm learning so much, and Ms. Ship, ER Ship is amazing in and of herself, and just the history. And then when you look on the board of the churches and see all of those names that are still prevalent in this community, the Flanagans, the Ships, the Bakers, the Carrs, all of those people that still have legacies here in the community, that's also amazing. So I'm loving this video section of segments. I'm also very excited to be going into this next phase of working with the Board of Commissioners on coming up with our plan on how to expend the funds that we're getting from the federal government. Also, I've recently learned that the state of Georgia has received extra money that is slated specific transportation projects. And I am looking forward to seeing what we need to do and who we need to have at the table so that we can maybe put forth some of our transportation needs so that we could get some of the extra funding that's coming down. So I'm really excited about the things that we can do. Grateful that we have an administration that understands that all of us are still suffering from the effects of COVID and giving us in so many different ways. Let's see, finally, I do agree with the fact that I do believe, well, let me back up and say that I took a class from ACCG this week, and it was collaborative leadership. And one of the things that we talked about was specialized personality styles and what kind of leadership styles that individuals have and what they're bringing to the table with styles. And as we were going through that training on Friday, I realized that I do believe that some kind of retreat is necessary so that we can reconvene and get to know each other on a different level, looking at our different leadership styles and looking at what each individual leader, as the citizens have seen for, but this is our 5th year, my 5th year, and I'm the baby. But we, all 3 of us are tremendously different leaders. Each one of us has different talents, and each one of us have different ways execute different things. And in order for us to best serve the citizens of Rockdale County, we're going to have to respect each other's strengths and help pull on each other's weaknesses, shore up those weaknesses, because there's a whole lot of work to be done in order to move this county forward. And the citizens have charged all 3 of us, not just one of us, but all 3 of us, with moving this county forward in the most expeditious and effective way possible. So I am open to even setting up a leadership training where we reevaluate each other and our leadership styles, and I look forward to working with this board to continue to move this county forward. We have done some tremendous things. 3.5 months, it's not 3 months yet, almost 3 months on this board, continuing that trend of doing great things. But I think that we need to reconvene and shore up our relationships. And those are my comments for today. Of course, when Dr. Williams gets finished, of course, I'll probably have some more, but that's all I have for now.
Outstanding. Commissioner Williams.
Well, I have several things, but let me just comment on something Commissioner Washington said about leadership training. And I'm really glad that you were able to attend that class and bring that information to us. And I agree that we should, because each of us have different strengths, and we need to build on those strengths and rely on the other people's strengths and focus on those strengths, and instead of looking for negative kinds of things. So I appreciate that suggestion of having a leadership training. Okay, so first off, a number of years ago, I proposed establishing an ethics board, which was subsequently completed. And then after that, our ethics board was based on one that DeKalb County had done. After that, the courts ruled that DeKalb County's ethics board was not legal or constitutional or whatever the wording is, which meant ours was not either, since it was based on that. So in a conversation with Representative Rhonda Taylor, she mentioned to me that she had been working on, that she helped revise the DeKalb County Ethics Board, and that she was going to start on Rockdale County next. And so I offered my assistance, and so we will be working on getting that ethics board revised so that we fall in line with what is constitutional and legal. Secondly, with the zoning and land use changes, we had quite a discussion in our zoning meeting this morning, but I just wanted to reiterate that we do need to look at our overall plan again, our land use and our zoning locations, so that we can make really informed decisions when it comes to changing land use, changing the land use map or changing the zoning. so that we make sure we have the appropriate amount of each of the different classifications and land uses in the county. So I look forward to hearing some of those studies and research and that can happen with that. Third, the animal control strategic plan. Again, let me just say, I am super happy that we have approved that plan and that it received a whole lot of community input and support. I think that's the best way to get things done, is to listen to each other, to hear what's being said, to evaluate what's being said, to listen to the different rationales and why things ought to be what they ought to be. And it was, the whole process was an example of really good leadership at the county level. Fourth, last night I hosted a town hall meeting on grieving. I had two experts speak, Dr. Deetra Hawkins and Dr. Tracy Lewis. That it came at a really interesting time for me. Let me just share a personal experience. I think I've mentioned before that I had a new grandbaby that I had not been able to see since he was born. And we had a family get together this last weekend where that baby had a baby blessing at church. And so I've been able to hold him now. I've been able to listen to his cooing and his talking. And 6 others of my grandchildren were at that event also.
Wow.
And I was overwhelmed with grief for what I had missed in the last year. And so that town hall meeting really came at a time when I needed it. I did not want to let go of a single one of those grandkids. I just wanted to keep them with me the whole time. And they ranged in age from the 3-month-old to 21 years old. And so I would invite you to go back, and it was on Facebook Live. So it will be available on facebook.com/RockdaleGov. And for anybody to go back and listen to these experts talk about resilience, listening to your pain, not trying to suppress it or ignore it, and how to be resilient in your life. My last thing is Women's History Month. This is the last meeting we will have in March, which has been International Women's History Month. I have someone I'd like to focus to share with you, but I wanted to preface it with my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother, back in the 1930s, divorced her husband because he was an alcoholic and was abusive. And that was unheard of in that time period. But she felt confident enough to do that. One thing I remember about my mother as a young girl, I remember her coming home. She had tried to get a credit card in her name, and she was refused because it was not legal for a woman to get a credit card in her name without her husband's signature also. And I can remember my mother being furious about that. And so I have this background of strong women who have feminist ideas. And so I was really attracted to Laura Pope Forrester, when I read about her. She is being inducted into Georgia Women's Hall of Fame. What's interesting about her is that she is considered a feminist artist. She lived from 1873 to 1953, and she was a self-taught American folk artist. She created one of the earliest outdoor art environments in the United States. And by the time she died, the space around her rural Georgia home had featured over 200 concrete sculptures, which is interesting of itself. However, many of those celebrated notable women in history and mythology. So she was a pioneer in both art environments and women's history. And so Laura Pope Forrester, I would like to recognize her during this Women's History Month. Those are my comments. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Williams. I'm going to go back to Commissioner Washington. Commissioner Washington?
Of course, I forgot my Women's History Month tribute. Mine is a little different because I'm going to read something Judge Maureen Wood posted on, she was honored and celebrated for Women's History Month because, as you all know, she is the first African-American female judge in juvenile court in Rockdale County. So she herself is a part of the Georgia courts was celebrating Women's History Month in 2021, and she was one of the celebrated judges. So the question was, who inspired you? And so I loved this answer that she said. Mary C. Scales was my inspiration. She was an educator, community leader, devoted wife and mother. She loved her community leader. She advocated for controversial issues of her day, like civil rights and women's rights. She always encouraged me to be and pursue my dreams. I remember asking her to help me write and practice a speech for the 7th grade Junior Beta Club election. That has been smart because they wouldn't let me anywhere near a Beta Club. I can't remember what position I ran for, but at the end of the speech, in packed middle school auditorium, I lifted my arms in the air and yelled, "This is the year of the woman." Not only did I get elected, but so did every other girl who ran for office in that election. She was my biggest cheerleader, and I have many more stories and memories of our time. It shows that we have a long legacy of standing on people's shoulders who inspire us. And in that vein, one of my biggest inspirations was my great-grandmother, who was born in 1901. So that was before women had the right to vote. And she took her vote, her rights very, very seriously. I remember her organizing. And my great-grandmother didn't drive, and her sister did, and they were 70 and 80 years old, and they're driving them to the polls because it was very, very important to them. So those are my women's history inspirations.
All right. Wow. Woo. Now, Commissioner Williams, y'all made it a little bit hard for me to follow that, but I was sitting here thinking about the fact that we are wrapping up the month of March, which is International Women's Month, and I couldn't help but to think about the 4 most influential women that's been in my life. And I will start with the 3 women who raised me, my mom, my dear Aunt Maddie, and my grandmother. They were all very strong women. And as each of them had a different character of their own in terms of being impactful with me growing up, one of the most common similarities that all 3 of them had was they didn't believe in pity parties. They believe that if you want to have something, you got to put your hand to the plow. No one owes you anything, and that you got to get out there and make it happen. They also believe in being considerate and sharing. We came from a family where we had to share. We had to be considerate of each other. And so those three women, and then of course, my lovely wife, the First Lady of Rockdale County, she has taught me the power of patience. And I have really complimented me in so many ways in terms of my work here in Rockdale County. And as I continue to move forward, interacting with the people of this community. I also want to take a moment and say thank you, Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. I really do agree wholeheartedly that the time is ripe for us to move into a leadership retreat. I echo the sentiments of both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams that there's always room for improvement, and continuous improvement is something that every college and university offers their continuing improvement courses and training programs. So I see a clear opportunity. I'm so glad that both my colleagues, Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams, have spoken to that this morning. Chief Cave, I want to charge you to collaborate with the three of us and identify a date, a time, and a location so that we can begin to build upon the interest of having a leadership development retreat. As Commissioner Washington said, that we can learn from all of our talents and gifts and tap into them. They help us learn and understand the different unique leadership styles and traits that each of us bring to this board. And she's absolutely right. We've done some tremendous work collectively as a Board of Commissioners. There's pretty much work to be done. There's a lot of unfinished business. And I think having a leadership retreat that brings us together and allows us to respectfully tap into the different unique styles that each one of us bring and find that common ground on the betterment and the best interest of all the citizens here in Rockdale County. So I am excited about that, Commissioner Washington. I'm excited about it, Commissioner Williams. And Chief Cave, I look forward to you make haste identifying a date, time, and a location so that we can caucus together and come out with some good news on behalf of the good people here in Rockdale County. I also want to take a moment and highlight another woman, Miss Gloria Armstead. Had an opportunity this past Saturday to attend the graveside service with Miss Armstead's family. Many of you may know, some of you may not know, Miss Gloria Armstead, a longtime resident here in Rockdale County, was one of the few women who are a part of the Progressive Club here in Rockdale County. And I heard so many different accolades about things that she contributed to and played a part in making things happen here over the years in the city of Conyers and Rockdale County. A lot of those things, Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Williams, I had no idea of. Listening to E.R. Ship, I was just thinking about Miss Gloria Armstead. As you notice, there was a picture of her standing with the Progressive Club in that photo. So I want to say, keep Miss Gloria Armstead's family in your prayers. We say thank you to the Armstead family for allowing them to share their mother with us here in this community, longtime resident in both the city of Conyers and Rockdale County. So I wanted to say this has been a very robust, very positive meeting this morning, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Chief Cade. As we bring this meeting to a close, and just before I go over to Executive Director Rutledge, I want to go to Chief Cade for any comments or closing comments coming from our Chief of Staff. Chief Cade.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two brief comments this morning. Just want to make mention that we are about to enter into a board recess, and essentially our next work session will be April 20th, Tuesday, April 20th at 7:00 p.m. So we will enter into a brief recess, and then that is our next public meeting as it relates to work sessions or voting sessions on April 20th at 7:00 p.m. And then the other announcement is just making reference to an event that the city of Conyers is hosting this weekend. The Conyers Cherry Blossom Festival is coming up Saturday and Sunday at the Georgia International Horse Park. Just want to give them a plug here in our meeting and make sure that all the citizens are aware that the city of Conyers is hosting that festival this coming weekend. Aside from that, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing further.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. I will say, commissioners, that Chief Cave has successfully passed the 90-day mark, and he has done an outstanding job. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. And he has really jumped.
Especially putting up with us at my.
Head and feet first. He has done a great job. And because he's passed that 90-day mark, I've got a very special key for him, Commissioner Washington, that I will be relinquishing over to him at the close of business today. But for right now, I'm going to go over to Executive Director Jennifer Rutledge. Director Rutledge, you've got a couple of announcements. I also want to say that Director Rutledge will be bringing back Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. Grab the bill by the horns, her legislative update that she's done between the state capitol and our federal government through public relations. Director Rutledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's right. And to reiterate, we have worked on some topics that we will begin filming tomorrow, and hopefully that will be released sometime at the very end of March, if not beginning of April. Chief Cave handled, we're about to go into recess, and we'll pick back up at the third Tuesday work session meeting. And those are all of my announcements this morning. I did not receive any requests for executive session, so that will be a no this morning, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I have just one last thing. I do want to remind all of the citizens in Rockdale County, we are still in a pandemic. Please don't forget to continue to wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. We are still very much in a pandemic. Although the vaccine is making its way through Rockdale County, there have been several people who've already been vaccinated. We appreciate that. But I do want to make sure, yes. I do want to make sure that we take a moment and remind all of our citizens that we are still very much in a pandemic. This beautiful, lovely weather and season change can really confuse the mindset of everybody, and they'll let their guards down. I'm encouraging you, don't let your guard down. Keep your mask on, keep washing your hands, don't gather in groups, social distance. We are still inside of a pandemic. Don't let the green grass fool you. Director Rutledge, I don't think there's a need for executive session at this time. Commissioners, if all minds are clear, we call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.